Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to this presentation about real-time intelligence solutions based on artificial intelligence. During this presentation, I'll start by describing the past status quo. Then I'll move on to explaining how modern cargo trackers work. And lastly, I'll outline a few relevant directions for the future. My name is Stéphane, and I'm Head of Business Development and Strategy at Kpler. Kpler was launched in 2014 and has grown organically to reaching a headcount of 100 employees based in 8 different offices. We now cover 25 commodities, including all energy commodities, and we've reached $30 million of book revenues, thanks to our 4,000 subscribed users. To tell you how Kpler started, I'd have to tell you about when the 2 co-founders met an LNG trader in Geneva. They spent some time with him, and he told them the following. He said, listen, everyone's trying to sell me a vessel tracking solution, but actually I don't trade the vessel. I trade the cargo inside. So could you please develop for me a cargo tracking solution? And it's true that back then, the world was very different. You really had a huge divide between tier 1 market players who had both access to confidential information as well as the resources to process it. And then on the other hand, you had smaller market players or companies that were outside of the market that wanted to get in, but that faced huge difficulty. The relevant information was very fragmented, very unstructured, and that all made the market very opaque. That's why modern cargo trackers have arrived, Kpler being the first. And when you look at how they work, when you look at their methodology, you realize the following. AIS signals, that is to say the GPS signals used by vessels, is always the backbone, on top of which you need to add many layers. You need to add many sources, whether they're automatic sources or human sources, and you need technology to help. Technology can be used either to access the data. I'm thinking of satellite imagery or drone imagery. And then you also have technology that's used to process this data. And machine learning is a very well-known example nowadays, but there are many different types of algorithms that you need to make very robust and sophisticated if you want to make something out of this data. This then enables users to do many things, almost everything they could think of. And when you look at the use cases, you realize that they tend to be easily categorized into 2 parts. First, at a granular level, this can be used to track vessels and to investigate specific situations. So you can look very precisely at what a vessel has done. You can follow a cargo through ship-to-ship transfers and re-exports. That's one thing you can do. You can also look at installations in a very precise way. You can observe your competition, see what other companies are doing in the market. With all that information well structured in a platform, there are many tools that you can then develop. Polygon analysis, alerts and watch lists, distance and cost calculators as well. So that's one first set of use cases. And then, on the other hand, at an aggregates level, you can use our data, but in a different way that has more to do with supply and demand. For example, if you want to look at a country level's imports and exports, that's something you can do very efficiently, both in real time as well as forecasts. The forecast part will come partly from sources that are forward-looking and partly from algorithms. On top of that, the same way you can aggregate flows, you can also aggregate inventories, whether these are land inventories or floating storage. Finally, every analysis you do on the cargo can also be done on the freight side. Freight is also something that's very relevant, and it's important to be able to estimate freight supply and demand, as well as congestion, utilization for fleets, and other operational metrics. And this has described what you can do with our data currently, with cargo tracking data in general. But if you look at the future, it's useful to take a step back and ask the question, why do cargo tracking solutions like Kpler exist? People like us exist because we allow our users to outsource the processing of non-confidential information. But most of our users have access to confidential information, and it's precisely this proprietary information that allows them to have an edge in the markets in which they operate. So in the end, they do need to integrate their own data with external data that comes from people like us. In some cases, they might also have several external sources of data that they also need to integrate. That's why data integration has really emerged recently as a trend, as a need that our users are increasingly experiencing. Our way of getting involved with data integration is called Kpler Fusion. Kpler Fusion is an extension of our platform that allows, roughly speaking, to do three things. First of all, you can access the public information, the same information as any subscriber to our platform can see, but then you can enrich in that with your own proprietary information and see the result of the two mixed data sets. Actually, this tool also enables people to collaborate because you can have several colleagues exchanging information about the same pieces of data that they're editing. The way this is going to look like is what you can see right now with the screenshot on the left showing you the public version of the platform. And you can see you have a toggle that allows you to switch to your private version of the platform. That's on the right of the screen. This is one very powerful way for users to use our platform, an external platform, as the place where data integration takes place. We've developed this. We've started advancing in this very promising direction for a couple of market players, and we provide most of the active market players with our data. You'll find a few of them mentioned on this slide, along with other companies and organizations that also benefit from our data. Well, thank you very much for your time, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.